All right, and we are live on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. We've got the whole crew with us today on this Thursday. We're going to be talking about redrafts. We've got a redraft we did with our listener league that we will pull up and just kind of discuss it, talk about some of the interesting picks, steals, I forgot the other word, reaches, stuff like that, and just kind of give our general thoughts on redrafts as everybody will be getting into the redraft season here soon. I know I've got my home one coming up in just a couple weeks, which I might ask you guys a couple questions about that as well. But before we get into talking about redrafts, how are you guys doing today?
Well, aside from coming up on the end of my vacation after this weekend, I guess I'm doing all right.
I'm doing okay too. This is Thursdays are my Friday since I work on Sundays. And this week I only had 5 days, unlike last week, which was a 6-day work week, and next week, which is a 6-day work week. So, yeah, I guess this is my light stretch.
I'm doing good too. And I've got some technical difficulties. I've got a lot of things going on, so my camera's not available. So if you're watching on YouTube or Twitter, yeah, good for you guys. I'm not available there. I'm sorry about that, guys. But no, I'm doing well. Everything's going great in life, and I can't complain. I mean, a lot of people have things a lot worse than I do right now, so I'm cool.
Yeah, I guess we should mention this because last time we were on air, I did say that I did not think the Big Ten season was going to get canceled. It happened, so that is why my tagline is there. Big Ten and Pac-12 have both, not canceled, postponed until spring. So we'll see what happens with that. I don't really want to talk much about it today, if I'm going to be honest. It's still kind of heartbroken about it. No, I'm not handling it well, but we'll see what happens. Obviously, there's still talk that Big 12, SEC, and ACC may still play. A lot of stuff still up in the air. I did see a little interview with Ryan Day yesterday, actually, where he said he's actually pushing to try and get the season in between January and February to give the players enough time to come back for fall. So I guess if that happens,
like a 5-game season.
No, 8. Like they'll have 8-game season or 7-game season, whatever it is, for throughout January and February, possibly starting December, so that they can have their guys come back and play that would be going into the NFL draft. I mean, I don't know if it's possible. It's something he brought up. I think it's his attempt to try and keep guys like Fields, Sean Wade, Browning, a lot of those guys, or Browner, I'm sorry, a lot of those guys that kind of came back this year. Or some of the guys that were seniors, like Sean Wade, could have gone into the draft. Same with Browner, those guys, and Justin Fields. Kind of sucks to be one of the best quarterbacks I think Ohio State's ever had, and we get him for one season, and for him to get kind of taken off the field the way he did against Clemson sucks. But like I said, I guess that is kind of life that we live in 2020. Unfortunately, it's just been my favorite year since I've been alive. So. Let's talk about the redraft. I'm going to have the draft board pulled up here. At times, you will see all of us disappears. I'm going to kind of throw it up on the full screen just so we can kind of get a better look at it. I don't know what it looks like if you're watching. It's kind of hard, I know, for some of us to see it. And I've got great vision, so I'm told, so it's even hard for me to see at times. But Dennis was not a part of this. So before we go in and break it down, Dennis, I know you had a chance to look at it. Do you want to give us kind of your overall thoughts on this draft? And then we'll jump in and kind of go round by round and talk about some of these picks.
Well, the biggest thing that jumped out at me was 3 quarterbacks going at 1, 2, and 3. On top of that, the quarterback at 2 was a bit of a stunner. As we found out, as somebody newer to the fantasy football world, and they picked players, I guess, that they were comfortable with. In total, the team doesn't look too bad, but going Tom Brady at the 102 clearly is not something. I'm sure Jonathan sitting at 104 could not have been happier to get Christian McCaffrey at 104 and Jacob Throneberry at 105 getting Saquon Barkley. Those are the kind of picks experienced players dream about getting when you're, at 3, 4, 5 in the draft. For a 14-teamer, 15 quarterbacks in the first 3 rounds, there was really just one manager that waited on a quarterback until the 6th round. Couple nice runs of running backs, quarterbacks, obviously. Not a lot of wide receivers through the first 3 rounds, which the conventional wisdom right now is wait on wide receivers because it's a deeper position, and that played pretty true in this draft.
Sorry, I wasn't sure that was what you ran in. All right, so I'm going to throw it up here so it might be a little bit easier to see. So as Dennis mentioned there, Patrick Mahomes, not surprising. This is a super flex draft. So obviously QB is a little bit more important for the most part in these drafts. I don't think it was that. I've seen him go plenty of times at 1-1. Does anybody really have an issue with that? Would you guys go a different route if you had 1-1 in a super flex draft?
My 1-1 would be Lamar Jackson because of the rushing floor, but I'm not, my 1-2 would be Patrick Mahomes, so I'm not going to be mad at anybody for either of those picks.
I'd still be in the wait on quarterback, and I'd be going McCaffrey at 1.
I had a super flex draft earlier where I was 1-1, and I am pretty sure I took McCaffrey.
Good for you.
Yes, I'm torn on that strategy. I really think I'd kind of be with you guys and just kind of hold off. Like I know Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson are they're both going to be separators, I guess. But I have a very different strategy, and I'll save that because I attacked that there at the 14 spot with both of my picks. So we'll work our way there. Dennis mentioned Tom Brady. He was the pick at 2 that kind of stunned all of us. Again, she's new to fantasy football. I believe she's a Tom Brady fan as well, because I know she was mentioning how happy she was to grab him and Gronk in the chat, or maybe she's a Patriots fan. I'm not sure. I mean, obviously, something we just talked about, when you're somewhat newer to drafting and being in a fantasy football league and you have favorite players, there's nothing wrong with going out and grabbing them. I do it all the time. So I was pissed when someone fucking took Baker Mayfield in front of me, assholes. I mean, all my
yeah. Wait till we get to the 4th round and we'll see.
Oh, I know. I did that on spite. As soon as Baker went, I was like, you know what? F everybody. Nah, I'm just kidding. So, but yeah, so nothing wrong with that. It'll be interesting. I mean, outside of that Tom Brady pick, I think she's got a really good team, which we'll kind of get into in a minute. Lamar Jackson went 3. Again, I mean, I guess it's easy for me to say is I do have him lower in my ranks than everybody else. I'd rather go somewhere else. And then as Dennis mentioned, yeah, getting Christian McCaffrey at 4, then Barkley, Kamara, Zeke. Kamara should have been at the end of that run for me. I'd have gone Zeke, then Dalvin Cook. What about you guys? How do those running backs kind of rank out for you? I think everybody really has it easily. CMC Barkley is 1-2. Do you have an issue going Kamara over Zeke, Cook? Would you take one of the others? How would you guys have attacked that spot there?
Yeah, I was at the 108, and Dalvin Cook fell all the way there. And I was in a position where I had to make a decision between the last of what I thought was top end, the tier 1 running back, or the first of the tier 1 wide receiver. No wide receiver had been drafted. I was looking at Michael Thomas, and I was really thinking, man, in a PPR league, it's kind of nice to have Michael Thomas. But the truth is, I would put Dalvin Cook. The reason that he fell to 8 is because of the talk about holdout. And to be honest with you, I felt like he may even opt out. Like I thought that was a realistic outcome for Dalvin Cook, where he wasn't happy with his contract. He knew he had another year. The team's already different than they were last year. So why wouldn't Dalvin Cook show up to camp and be like, yeah, guys, I want to be here, but I'm not getting paid enough money and I'm worried about the virus. That's the reason why he fell. That's what I'm saying. Had none of that happened, Dalvin Cook would have been the 3rd running back drafted. So for me, it was McCaffrey, Barkley, Cook, and then I would take Elliott over Kamara, but then we're splitting hairs there. I mean, I guess that's the conversation. Is it Elliott or Kamara? Which
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say Cook fell because of those reasons, because we specifically did not start drafting until post-opt-out date. He had already reported to camp. We wanted to make sure nobody got caught in any kind of weird situation. We wouldn't start until we started the day after the opt-out deadline.
And I agree. I think that's fair. I think that's really fair. And I'm really, really glad that we did it that way, but the stigma still exists.
But not everybody
lingers.
feels about Cook the same way you do. I wouldn't have taken him. Even
Yes,
if you'd let him drop to 9, I wouldn't have taken him.
Okay.
So
Yes,
that is a personal bias.
Okay.
Now, for me, Cook falls, in my opinion, because of his injury history. It's the top 3 are clearly, in my opinion, McCaffrey, Barkley, and Elliott. And then there's to me, there's a tier break after Barkley, and then there's a step down from Elliott to Kamara and Cook. And the where you're splitting hairs is with Cook and Kamara. I don't think Kamara has a high rushing floor, 700, 800 yards. He's not going to get the carries. He's going to get his 81 receptions. Cook, on the other hand, could get those receptions and has the rushing floor, but he's already been injured 2 or 3 times over the course of his college and pro career. And so I do think there's hesitation there. Elliott, I think he may lose receptions this year. They have a great receiving core, so there may be a little tick down there, but he's going to have wide open spaces to run in with that wide receiver core opening up the field. So I would have clearly went Elliott as the third running back. As far as the 5 of them, people make there's after McCaffrey and Barkley, the other 3 are interchangeable based on personal opinion for most people. A lot of people love Kamara, think he's the clear 3. People love Cook, think he's the clear 3. It's just a preference is all it really is. And for me, that would have been Elliott. Thomas and Adams, they are the top tier of wide receivers. I think it's probably a 70-30 split as to who goes first. Thomas goes typically before Adams, but there's a substantial number of people, 30% or so, I think that will go Adams over Thomas. Maybe it's just to be different. Maybe it's just to be contrarian. So it's not a terrible pick by any stretch of the imagination.
I will say, Drew, who was pick 6, who took Kamara, diehard Eagles fan, so that might have swayed him taking Kamara over Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, I think for me, I still would have had Zeke first. And again, I mean, just we talked about this probably a month ago now. We did our rankings. I had it, CMC, Barkley, Zeke, Cook, Kamara. I'm just, as Dennis mentioned, I'm kind of with him. I don't see the rushing upside with Kamara, even though Cook has an injury history. I mean, the dude was an absolute baller last year. And if you can get him healthy, he's a steal at 1.8. He really is, because he's going to be one of those top 3 or 4 backs. So I would have taken both those guys over Kamara. Again, I can see that, although I say don't draft with your heart, even though I do it all the time. I draft Ravens players
all the time.
I do. Well, I don't draft Steelers players except for Juju, because I love Juju. All right, so at 1-9, that's where Matt was up. You took Michael Thomas. I'm assuming it wasn't even really a debate for you. It was just clear I'm going Michael Thomas, no debate with Adams or anybody else.
No, of the receivers, I was going to take Michael Thomas there. Had Tony taken Michael Thomas, I probably would have taken Adams.
And I was going to take Thomas. I really thought long and hard about that.
I thought so much. I was like, I really want Michael Thomas. Tony is 100% going to take him. And when you posted Cook, I was like, God bless you.
Thank you, buddy. Thank
you.
All
right, so after that went Devontae Adams. This was an interesting one to me, and they kind of talked about it in the chat that they were going to go heavy quarterback, but Russell Wilson, and I guess I got to ask you this because I clearly did not do my research before this draft, as it was pointed out to me as I mentioned some things in the chat. Is this tight end premium as well?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's a half point tight end premium.
I didn't do my research, so I did not know that.
Oh, imagine
so, you were the one that suggested tight end premium.
It was your idea, Matt.
Well, that makes me feel better.
He's married. He's not used to having his opinions listened to.
Exactly. So you got Travis Kelce that went there next, which was I guess now not necessarily an interesting pick to me because it makes sense now that I know it's tight end premium. That's why I was asking. Then Derrick Henry, which I'm very glad that he went Derrick Henry there because I was hoping that the next 2 guys would fall to me, which were Nick Chubb and Joe Mixon. I mentioned I had a strategy going into this. Oh, man, there's a mosquito, and it got away from me. I'm going heavy on running back early this year if I can. I would really like to try and get 2 of my top 15 guys if possible. I just think that this is going to be a weird year. Running back is not nearly as deep as we kind of talked about it being last year. I also kind of want to diversify myself in backfields because I am worried if, say, a Nick Chubb tests positive for COVID, that could also knock out Kareem Hunt. Dontrell Hilliard, and other players that were all in the room with them based on contact tracing. So I am trying to mix up my players. I'm not trying to keep as many. I'm not worried about having my backups and all this. I'm trying to diversify as much as I can. So for me, I got Nick Chubb and Joe Mixon, who are both the guys I was targeting here at 14. I was thrilled with that start. I got two, in my opinion, top 5 running backs to kind of anchor, or I guess 6-7, I think is where I had him. Anchor my running backfield, and I could kind of pivot from that. Your guys' thoughts on that?
I think at the 14th and 15th picks, getting Chubb and Mixon are great. It's great value. In the concern with Chubb, I think this year is that he's not going to get anything in the passing game, but he could very well rush for 17 or 1,800 yards. Like I had said on an earlier show, the Vikings ran the ball last year under Stefanski about 80 times more than the Browns did. And so I expect the Browns rushing attempts to go up. And while I like Kareem Hunt as a player, I think you give the ball to Nick Chubb every chance you can. And so Chubb is going to be, around the 300 carry mark, maybe 325 carries. And he's going to do some damage there. Mixon is a great all-around back. There have been a lot of challenges in Cincinnati during his time there, with piss poor coaching and injuries, some quarterback play issues. So hopefully with the second year under Zach Taylor, it could be challenging with a rookie quarterback, but they're going to have to put Burrow in there and let him play. So it could be a big year for Mixon, could be a career year for him at this point.
Yeah, I like your Chubb pick anyway.
Yeah, I know you're not a fan of Mixon. All right, so continuing in the second round, so I'll ask you guys this, because I don't want to go through every single pick, but I did find this interesting. So it is tight end premium, and he goes here at, what is that, the 11 spot, 12 spot? So he took Travis Kelce in the first round, and then George Kittle in the second. I understand it's tight end premium, but for me, I kind of feel like you're shooting yourself in the foot a little bit there, because now you're using your tight end. You're likely throwing Kittle into a flex spot. I don't think both those guys are going to have – they're obviously going to have good years. They're going to be the top tight ends on the board. Having the tight end premium does give them a little bit of a bump, but I also don't see them having high-end weeks like some of the guys that went by, like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire could have, a Miles Sanders, DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones. Like, I would much rather have had one of those guys in my second flex spot than a George Kittle on a tight end premium bonus. That's just my opinion. What are your guys' thoughts on doubling up on tight ends in a tight end premium?
Well, I disagree with you on part of what you said. I would rather have George Kittle than DeAndre Hopkins. I would rather have George Kittle than Miles Sanders. George Kittle's role is guaranteed. And I agree with your initial point that to draft 2 tight ends, 1 and 2, I mean, that takes a big old sack. Like, let's just call that what it is. I mean, this guy put all the cards on the table immediately. I got to give him credit for that. I'm worried, like you said, that he may have sacrificed too much of his starting lineup for that flex player. But at the same time, he's got the right 2 tight ends to do it with. Like, if you're going to do it with 2 tight ends, it's got to be Kelce and Kittle, like, right? I mean, both of those players are a focal point of their offense. Kittle is – both of those guys got paid huge contracts today. They're both the focal point. I mean, that's just coincidence. But, I mean –
So
am I crazy?
Go ahead, sorry.
No, I just really think that part of me says that strategy is completely insane. I'm with you. But the other part of me says, well, to hell with it. It's about fantasy points. The most fantasy points wins. And Kelce and Kittle, you're locking up 2 of the best tight ends. You're depriving the rest of the league of 2 tight ends. That's something that I've talked about before, is when you can get a positional advantage. I mean, David has a positional advantage. Every week he has the best tight end, period.
Right.
Well,
so
the tight end 2 and the tight end 3.
Yeah,
that's right. I got the tight end one so that I would be Dennis.
Exactly. So that's the point I was going to make. So, Jonathan, yes, somewhat. I do agree. Wait on tight end, but don't do dart throws, buddy. Grab somebody good. You're the reigning champion. You know that. Again, maybe this is a little hindsight 2020-ish, Tony, but to kind of counter what you're saying, I agree with the most part of what you're saying here. But if you take Kelsey, and then say in the second round, if you say you'd rather have Julio or Clyde Edwards,
I would rather have Julio. I'm not saying that I would do this, but I'm just saying the more
I would rather have
Julio
like if that was an option.
Exactly, but that's my point. Is you could grab a guy like Julio there, and then you look at, and again, you don't know this is going to happen, so I can understand you can say the hindsight 2020 thing, but then 3 other tight ends who were all top 5 didn't go for 2 more rounds. So you could have started with a Julio Jones, Amari Cooper, and then a Mark Andrews or Zach Ertz or Darren Waller. That's just as good, in my opinion, because now your team is better overall having a Julio Jones or a Clyde Edwards-Helaire there compared to a George Kittle, who, again, you're right, he is established in his role, but we also saw at times last year when San Francisco went as run heavy as they did, he was only putting up 5 or 6 points. So, in a tight end premium, that goes up to maybe 8 or 9, where Julio is consistently getting you 13, 14 points a week.
Well, that's
my argument. Some people are still in that. Some people are still in the Scott Fishbowl mindset because I saw a lot of people start tight end because of the tight end premium and Scott Fishbowl.
Well, I think too that what gets lost a little bit here is that it's a 14 team and not a 12 team. So if you're in that 12-team mindset, it's easy to go, well, I got Kelsey at 12. That's great. And then you're going to get Kittle. Kittle's going to go somewhere around where, let's see, it would be 2.6, 2.7 instead of 2.8, 2.9, 2.10. So because Kittle was typically going towards the second half of the second round. So when you have 4 running backs that would normally be in the second round, go between the 112 and the 2.3, I think you can justify it a little bit as saying, well, I know I can start both of these guys every week. With Debo out, I do think Kittle is he's going to be much like Andrews, Kittle is the top receiver on that team. There could be an Ayuk breakout. Debo could come back strong. The challenge for me with San Francisco is, like Tony mentioned, there are times when the passing volume in that offense gets really, really low, and that could be concerning. I don't hate going to double tight end.
I'm going to interrupt you. I'm going to interrupt you. Here's the problem that I have with going Kelsey and Kittle. Everything that you said is perfectly valid. So you could let's say you took let's say you took Kittle at 112. Julio Jones at 2.3. So Kittle, first round pick, that wouldn't be crazy. Jones, and then Ertz was there. I mean, there are other tight ends. If you wanted to stack those tight ends and get that tight end premium, there are plenty of other tight ends that went in the 4th round. That's my hesitation with this. So I want to get this out. I want to get out ahead of that and say that I don't love the idea of Kelsey Kittle, but it was interesting to me because they do both get the points. I do think there was a better way of doing it. That's all.
Well, and it's easy to look at it in hindsight and go, well, look at these guys that went in the 4th. When you're sitting there at 2-3 and you're going, this is tight end premium, I can own this position because I know in the next 2 rounds, Kittle, Andrews, Ertz, and Waller are going to go, and I'm going to be looking at in the 4th round if I want to number another top tight end. I'm looking at Hunter Henry or Evan Ingram, and I don't want to go there. I want the top 2 in my.
David owns the position. He did buy the position. He did his job.
Well, maybe he can trade with the guy who has all the quarterbacks.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't. I'm going to come back to this because I just thought about something I want to look up real quick to ask your guys questions. So we'll move on. We saw a couple quarterbacks go here, kind of what you'd expect in a super flex draft. You're going to see a lot of quarterbacks go. A little 3-run quarterback run here. Matt, you ended up taking Dak. Was that just because he kind of fell to you and we'd already seen at this point, 6 quarterbacks go? 5? Yeah, 6 quarterbacks had gone by the point it got to you in the second round. Was that something you kind of wanted to attack quarterback at that point because the tiers were running out for high guys, or why did you go Dak there?
I had planned to get a quarterback in the second because, it being super flex on 14 teams, I knew even just having two quality starters becomes more of a challenge. So I was going to take one. Dak is the quarterback I have as quarterback 3. So the fact that he was there after a bunch had gone made it easier for me.
All right, so to the tight end discussion, because I was trying to pull up this scoring, because obviously Scott Fishbowl, you get a little bit more extra points with the tight end premium and other stuff going on. I think he catches first downs, all that other stuff. But just to kind of point out why I don't want to dog on anybody's strategy, I guess why I would not have gone Kelsey Kittle is that looking at the scoring. So Kelsey he finished as number 5 all together in scoring, and Scott Fishbowl scoring with the tight end premium scorings on there. George Kittle finished at 26. Again, wow. I know he's the top tight end, but he doesn't put up the points that people think. He's very consistent. He's going to get you points every week. But I guarantee because of the run-heavy offense that they run, he doesn't get as many points as people think he does. When you go down and you look at, there was like 4 tight ends that went ahead of him. Darren Waller, Zach Ertz, Mark Andrews. Like, those guys you can get later. Even in tight end premium drafts, they're not going. Their ADPs are 4th and 5th round. So that's for me why I would have skipped on George Kittle and taken a guy like Julio Jones, who finished way ahead of him in these scoring formats. And that's why I would just avoid doing that. I get you're winning that position every single week. But at the same time of you doing that and not taking a Julio Jones there, in my opinion, that's why you take Amari Cooper there in the 3rd round. And then you had to take a quarterback because of the quarterback run that was happening. And all of a sudden, now you're relying on DeAndre Swift and Cam Akers as your running backs, which in my opinion is not great. It's just not. So you're hurting yourself more at multiple positions, in my opinion, doing that because you're relying on Amari Cooper and A.J. Brown now to be your top wide receivers, which in my opinion is not great. I don't think any of us had either one of those guys in the top 12. We had both of them, I think, in the top 20, but none of us had them in the top 12. So now you're relying on 2 possible top 20 guys to be your top wide receivers.
Well, shoot, you didn't even have Amari Cooper on your first draft at all.
Deserve to be ranked. That's why. So that's my argument against doing it. Is I think you're winning one position, but I think you're really hurting yourself almost everywhere else, especially in a 14-team league. Like, I kind of see where Dennis was going in the 12-team league thing. Like, 12-team, okay, because you're going to have a couple of players here fall because of this. But in a 14-teamer, you're taking away 2 picks every single round now from you, and I think that really kind of hurts the strategy. So anybody else have anything else they want to say on that, or should we move on?
No, we can stop picking on David.
All right, so interesting ones for me, I guess. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Miles Sanders, and Kenyon Drake all go there in the 2nd round. I guess everybody is high on Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
The only thing that I'm confused about with Edwards-Helaire is why he didn't go 104.
I'm telling you what, I got you guys, and Matt. If you want to talk shit, that's fine. I'm cool with that. I'm totally cool. I'll take it. I'm cool with that. Talk all the shit you want to, because 16 weeks from now, I'll be talking to you about how Clyde Edwards-Helaire is like RB4, RB5. We're talking about a PPR league here, guys. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's the only rookie running back. Now listen. I love Jonathan Taylor. I'm a Colts fan, right? And I think Taylor's going to grow and become some incredible monster. Like, I believe that. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire has no competition for touches. He's going to get the rushing work.
Well, we saw at LSU when he did have competition for touches, he didn't get to play much.
Well, he's not going to have competition for touches. He was a 1st-round pick. He's mobile. He can catch the ball. I mean, he's the guy.
You didn't know Mahomes played with DeAndre Washington in college?
What? No, I guess I didn't pay enough attention to that.
Yeah. But Washington had a 1,400-yard rushing season with, I think, 50 receptions or something like that.
DeAndre Washington is going to end up being a sneaky value. He's a guy that came in and took over for Jacobs when he was injured, and rookie running backs are not great at picking up the blitz. I would bet that he ends up out there.
Average, Fox, on average, you know this, there's 2 every year that we have 2 rookie running backs in the top 12 every year. That's how it works. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire fell to me at the 207 in a 14-team league. I would have drafted him at the back end of the 1st round of a 10-team league. I mean, maybe this is one of those things where the season has to go on and we have to see. But everybody in Kansas City wanted Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He should not have been the first running back drafted. He shouldn't have been. We all agreed before the draft that there were better running backs, but he was the first one drafted, and that was for a purpose. And so, you know what? I'm cool with it. I feel like I've got a diamond in, I mean, come on. I don't want to say a diamond in the rough because he's not even in the rough. Like, I got Dalvin Cook and Clyde Edwards-Helaire in my first 2 picks in a 14-team league. Guys, I'm stable at that position. I'm good to go at the most valuable position, and they both can catch the ball. Like, I don't understand. Does somebody doubt? Are you guys saying you doubt Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
I don't doubt him. I don't think he finishes top 5, like you just said. There's no way.
So last season, the highest rookie RB in PPR was Miles Sanders at RB 13. I think Philip Lindsay was RB 12 the year before that. He was the highest. So this whole 2 finish top 12 every year, I think, is an exaggeration.
I believe, and I want to. I'll look it up, and we'll follow up afterwards in the group text. But I really do believe that on average there are 2 top 12 running backs every year that are rookies. Like, I really believe that.
I know.
I'll look it up. I'm willing to be wrong.
We will make fun of your team, Dennis, or not Dennis, Jonathan. We'll talk about. So the one thing I'll say on Edwards-Helaire, so we can move on real quick, is because we spent 30 minutes on like the first 2 rounds here. We're not going to be able to get through all 18. I don't disagree with you, Tony. The one thing I will say on why they drafted him is he fits that system. Like, I'll be honest, if Jonathan Taylor would have gotten drafted by the Chiefs, I would not like him as much as I do going to the Colts. I think he fits the Colts system so well, and I think that was a great landing spot for him. I think Edwards-Helaire fits well into the Chiefs system. I know people are going to argue with this, but the one thing I'll say is, even when Kareem Hunt came out and showed what he did, yes, he led the league in rushing that year with the Chiefs. He still was not out there every single play. He was not getting as much run as people thought he should have been getting. I know everybody will say, well, Andy Reid's never had a back like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm also going to say, I don't think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is quite as good as everybody thinks he is when they saw at LSU. Nick Brossett started the year before. Like, Nick Brossett not in the league anymore, Nick Brossett. Like, Edwards-Helaire is very good, and I think he will likely be a top 13 back. I think Miles Sanders scores higher than him this year. So that was my only argument. I would have gone Sanders. I think Sanders finishes higher. That's my only thing.
That's fair enough. I think the opportunity of that most high-powered offense gives him the edge. And now that he doesn't have competition for targets, or I guess targets, he does have competition for targets, but yeah, with Damian Williams being out, I mean, there's not a guy there that's going to step up. Damian Williams was arguably the Super Bowl MVP. He's not playing anymore. So for me, there's so much upside. I don't think he's
the only guy.
For me, it's about upside. I thought Edwards-Helaire had the most upside. That's what I was trying to say. That's all.
I mean, I don't hate the pick. I was, to get him at RB7, 8, what is that, RB9, I think is probably fair value for him.
RB10, actually. So, yeah, it's fair value. I think 10, unless I counted wrong.
I'd have taken him over Derrick Henry. I was shocked that you didn't take him, Matt. I mean, I was shocked. I was shocked you didn't take him.
Because here's my thing, and I said it before, I don't have him that high. I'm going strictly off how I think my 2020 season's going to go, and I have both Chubb and Mixon right there in the 6 to 7 range. And so I'm taking both those guys. They're both going to be top 6 to 7, in my opinion. Like, I know, as Dennis mentioned, Nick Chubb's not going to get the receiving work that maybe like Helaire is going to get, but I think Chubb is a 10 times better runner, and he's in a system that fits him. Like, my other fear with Edwards-Helaire, and then I really do want to move on from him, is
oh my God.
He's not – I don't think he's going to get the rushing work some think he does. That is a very pass-heavy offense, and it's going to be hard for him to rush for 20 rushes or whatever when Patrick Mahomes is throwing it 30, 40 times a game, or when he throws one ball to Tyreek Hill, who then runs down the field and scores.
I agree with that.
And Edwards just did nothing that entire drive. Like, I think everybody says, hey, he's in this explosive offense, he's going to put up points. There's also a lot of other really good weapons in that offense. That doesn't mean Edwards-Helaire is going to put up points. They just keep saying, hey, Kareem Hunt did it, so he's going to do it. I just can't make that correlation. I've got to see it, so I'm just not as big a believer in him as others are. That's my only thing on him. I don't think it's a bad.
Hey,
go ahead.
Look, Tony, I will just say I loved your pick because it allowed me to get a running back I like much better in the third round.
Okay, go ahead. Who was it?
Aaron Jones. We'll get to there. We're making our way there. So one thing I will say, I love great grabs here on Hopkins and Julio Jones as well there in the second round. I mean, to see those two studs fall there, I'd taken both of them. Would have taken Chris Godwin there over Tyreek Hill, but not a really big argument. Hill finishes out the second round. Eckler, I would have taken Eckler over Kenyon Drake. He falls into the third round. Trying to see here. So Godwin.
Well, I think Kanan at the 101 could have been influenced by having Mahomes. So stacking Mahomes with Tyreek Hill.
Yeah,
that's as much as I like Godwin, I don't hate that stack and taking him over Godwin just because there's going to be a ton of explosiveness in that.
Some people have Hill higher too. I mean, they're relatively
I wouldn't
close
have been
among
surprised
people.
to see Hill go early second round.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned the double up here because the pairing ups. I love doing that. I tried to do that I got fucking sniped on every single one of the guys I was trying to double up with my quarterback, so I did not get any of that in this draft. But an interesting one with Jonathan's team. He mentioned here that we can pick on his team. I will here for a second because I honestly loved his draft. I think he did a great job. The one thing I'm curious on to get your guys' opinions is he grabbed Matt Ryan and he had the double up there with Julio. Then he also goes Calvin Ridley, and I kind of feel like you're buying way too much into the Atlanta offense. I do think they're going to throw the ball a lot, but I don't remember many games where we saw Julio and Calvin Ridley have good games, and I think I kind of would have separated myself a little bit more there. Maybe have gone a Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, or even Adam Thielen, who all went behind him. Your guys' thoughts on him doing that, getting the Julio and Calvin Ridley to pair with Matt Ryan?
Well, I think Ridley is establishing himself as a high-end wide receiver too. That team is that offense is gonna run through Julio. The danger you have is in any given week, if they shit the bed, you have three players that could give you virtually nothing. And if it happens, 2 or 3 times in a season, that could be what costs you the championship. I would have taken somebody else because I'm not personally that high on Ridley. For me, I think I would have definitely went Allen Robinson, Adam Thielen, or even Cortland Sutton over Ridley. But I mean, I don't hate it if that's your strategy. Much like the 2 tight ends, if your strategy is to build a real stack. I recently saw something on Twitter, people talking about a stack is not 2 players. A stack is 3 players, 2 players as a pair. Well, I know we conventionally think stacking 2 players is a stack, but going with the 2 wide receivers and Ryan, I do think that does add risk to the mix. But I don't hate it if you've got the belief in the players.
I mean, we had I thought Ridley would be a solid wide receiver too this year, so I don't hate it either. I probably would have diversified a little bit, but I think he was trying to grab players that he thought were good values where they fell.
All right, so Evans goes here. Another little QB run with Breeze, Rodgers, and Stafford. Not bad at all. Probably the next couple guys I would have gone. I do have one, or I'll let Matt give his Aaron Jones talk because I have another bone to pick with Tony really quick here. Although I'm not a bone to pick. It's not a bad thing, I guess. It is a little bit actually. I take that back. But go ahead.
No. Okay.
Every week, apparently, our mission every week is just to see how far we can push Tony and still have him come back.
No, it's not a bad thing. I have a question for him. I'm curious, based on something we've talked about before. So, okay, I get that, Jonathan. I don't know. For me, I think
just do it. Just tell me. What's the question? What is it?
Okay. You're all on Allen Robinson, and yet you pass him up for Cooper Kupp. What the hell, man?
I know.
What the hell? You keep talking about A-Rob being this absolute stud.
Oh, my God.
Cooper Kupp. I'm just curious. That's all. I'm not dogging on you. I would have gone A-Rob over Cooper Kupp. So I was curious on why you went Kupp and let Robinson keep going.
The simple answer is peer pressure. That's the simple answer. I've got a guy in my ear that I trust that says Allen Robinson's trash.
Allen Robinson got drafted before Cooper Kupp. You need to.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Actually, Allen Robinson was 404, and I was 407.
No, Cooper Kupp went before Allen Robinson. What the hell is going on?
No, he didn't. No, he did not. Look at
Robinson went at 404.
I'm looking at it right now. You asshole.
You guys are no fun.
I would have taken Robinson. Allen Robinson should have been my wide receiver 1, motherfucker. And I said I was going to take him number 1. And I had some dude in my ear that I trust, by the way. His name's Daniel. I like him. But he's in my ear saying that Allen Robinson sucks and the Bears suck and doesn't want anything to do with the Bears or Allen Robinson. And so constantly, like every single day. Listen, I've got Allen Robinson in every single league. So
except
first of all, except for this one, because I couldn't get him in the 4th round. What was I supposed to do? It's a super flex league. I had to take a quarterback. I had no choice. I took Matt Stafford in the 3rd round. Was I supposed to take Allen Robinson and get stuck with no quarterback? Come on. No, Matt. Matt. You want to call me out, but listen here. I didn't even have a chance to draft Allen Robinson, and that's fucked up.
That's fair. I did not see that. I thought it was on the other way back around. No, I agree with the quarterback thing. But that's why I took Daniel Jones there, and I did not.
For Matt, is he's done too many dynasty rookie drafts, so he was looking at everything linear.
Yeah, I am looking at everything linear. It's a serious problem of mine. All right, so
Matt. Eric, my 3rd round. I'll do my 3rd and 4th round.
Yeah, go ahead.
Pick real quick. So I was 100% about to take Kenny Golladay. Because I thought, hey, Thomas, Dak, Golladay, this is going to be pretty good. And I saw Aaron Jones was still there, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't go 0 RB until like round 10, like normal. Maybe I should actually try to have a competitive, well-balanced team. So I ended up taking Jones there. I felt pretty good about him falling. All the things Tony said about Hilaire having an opportunity to run and catch passes, I think goes even more so for Jones on a team where they have 2 good offensive skill position players, Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones, who figure to be heavily involved. I don't think he'll get 19 touchdowns again, but I think he's going to get plenty of volume. And then in round 4, it's simple. I just thought, what would Dennis Bennett do? And I drafted Mark Andrews.
Draft fucking Mark Andrews is what he would do.
Yeah, so I mentioned I reached on quarterback here, kind of like Tony. I don't want to say reached on Matt Stafford, but what you were just saying, you felt like you had to because of the way the quarterbacks are running. Same thing for me there at Daniel Jones. I'll be honest, I was going to take Baker. He went before me, so I still like Daniel Jones. I think he's got a lot of upside, so went there. And I know this next one broke Matt's heart. But I needed a wide receiver 1, and it was between him and Allen Robinson. And I was like, you know what? Fuck everybody in this draft because they're pissing me off. So I did go Cortland Sutton just to kind of, unfortunately, just twist the knife in a little bit there, Matt, because I was getting pissed off with the way people were drafting. So I did take Cortland Sutton, Leonard Fournette, Jared Goff, A-Rob, Adam Thielen, as Matt just mentioned, Mark Andrews, Cooper Kupp.
Wait, hold on. Wait, time out. Allen Robinson is a wide receiver 1. That's all. Go ahead. Keep going.
Oh, yeah, you are correct. You should have gone before Cooper Kupp. That's all I'm saying. I'm just messing with you.
He did go before Cooper Kupp. He should have gone before OBJ.
I apologize. So Zach Ertz, Waller there. That kind of makes sense. And as I mentioned earlier when I was asking about Jonathan's team, Ridley. So actually, I was reading that.
Wait a minute. I'm going to ask you another question. I want to ask the group this question. So I took Cooper Kupp at 407 as my first wide receiver. Should I have considered Zach Ertz or Darren Waller? I thought about a tight end at that spot because I knew that was the end of the tier. I took Cooper Kupp because of the touchdowns and because of the upside. But I want to know your opinion on the Cooper Kupp pick versus taking a tight end there in a tight end league.
You should have taken DJ Moore, but
so for me, Tony, if Matt had not taken Mark Andrews, I probably would have considered Mark Andrews there. But I don't think Ertz and Waller are going to be that much of a difference between those guys below them. And you got a guy that I'm really no, never mind. That was Matt. God fan. Yeah, you got Hooper. I'm not big on Hooper, but I mean, I wouldn't have. No, Ertz. I would have kept going with Kupp. I would have been fine with that. If Andrews fell off the on Andrews, but that's it.
I don't hate Ertz at the 407 at all. I think Ertz is still going to be a very prominent part of the Eagles' passing game. You're probably looking at this might be the beginning of the end for him, but he's still going to be in the 110, 120 target range. He's the number one there, even with Jalen Reagor coming in. It's still Ertz at the top of the target tree there. So I wouldn't have hated the Ertz pick because I think you get a little bit more. To me, there's a separation between Ertz and Waller. I think there's a separation between Andrews and Ertz as well. So I would not have hated the Ertz pick at 407.
I think I'm glad I didn't do it. When I look at, I agree with your.
I mean, I don't know about picking Cleveland's tight end too in the 8th round. That's puzzling, but
that's the problem. That's the catch. That's the problem. Is that I chose to pass, and I think I'm going to pay for that. I'm going to pay for that. That's what's going to come. That's what's going to happen.
I mean, I wouldn't say you're going to pay for it. I think I'm kind of with Dennis. I wouldn't have gone Austin Hooper. I would have probably taken someone, but we're not big on Hooper. You could be, and then that wouldn't be an issue. I don't think Hooper's going to have quite a big year as other people do. So
I'm not big on Hooper. I'm worried about tight ends. I'm not big on Hooper. I'm worried.
Yeah. All right, so after that, so Ridley, so I apologize on the Jonathan thing. Again, me reading the draft board wrong here. I would have definitely gone DJ Moore over Calvin Ridley. Those other guys you couldn't have taken because they were already gone. Chris Carson, Todd Gurley, I think solid picks. I wouldn't have taken any of the other guys behind him. Jonathan Taylor, though, was interesting for me. I would have loved to got him had he come back around. But again, I think he's going to be a top 12 running back, so getting him there in the 5th round or 5th round, I think is a steal there for Jonathan. Really kind of shores up that RB2 spot for him. Nothing really big stands out to me here in that next round. I mean, Tony, you went David Montgomery. That was your second running or first running back for you?
That was my 3rd running back. My theory in redraft leagues is to take as many running backs with upside as fast as I can, and I'll fill in the holes with everything else. Which is why we talked about this before. That's why I was left with Austin Hooper, is because he's just what was left over after I did running back. I mean, yeah.
All right, so then, Matt, you went a little bit of a homer pick there and taking Drew Lock. Was there any other question for you there, or do you know you had taken Dak earlier? You said you knew you were kind of locked in on taking a QB there in the 2. Were you kind of locked in on taking a QB here in the 5th round, or was it just one of those things where he fell? You weren't sure how many other quarterbacks were going to go, as we're about to find out a shit ton went. So was this one of the things where you took him before you thought something bad might happen?
Yeah, 100%. I was locked in on taking Drew Lock. If somebody would have taken him in front of me, I might not have taken a quarterback.
All right, so then he goes Melvin Gordon.
Went a quarterback 17. Fantasy Pros has him. His current ADP is quarterback. Wait, that's Tyler. Excuse me. Has him at quarterback 22. So it was a little bit of a reach, but I mean, at that point, it's get your guy. I think when you get into the 8th or 5th, 6th, 7th round, that's when you start to reach a little bit. So yeah. I don't hate it. I mean, you stacked him with
you got to think too again. Yeah, 14 team league, as we pointed out earlier. So this is really, at this point, probably a round or 2 later, too, as well, with the extra picks going in there. So it's more of like a 6th, 7th round pick. And I don't hate it either. I would have taken him over Jimmy G, Gardner. Cam's interesting just because of the rushing upside, but I still would have taken him over those guys. So I don't hate the pick at all. Juju, I think, interesting pick for here. So for me on Shibuti, this is probably where I would have tried to have gone a running back instead of taking Juju because of him waiting on the running back. Again, hindsight's 2020, but I would have probably gone running back there. A.J. Brown-Chark, I went Landry. I just wanted to secure I kind of doubled up on wide receivers. I didn't like the running backs, that were sitting right there hoping someone else would fall. And as you guys are about to see a whole bunch of running backs and quarterbacks kind of go here, it messed up my whole strategy. But I grabbed Landry and McLaurin just because I wanted to kind of secure my wide receiver room. I felt like having Sutton, Landry, and McLaurin were three guys I could start every single week and know I'm going to get at worst likely wide receiver 2 upside from all three of them. So
how many flexes in this league?
That's a question for you, Matt, since I don't pay attention to the rules.
I have to look it up. I think 3.
3 including Superflex or 3 plus Superflex?
No, 3 plus Superflex. We start 10.
Okay.
So then, as I mentioned, that QB run goes. We saw Jimmy G, Gardner Minshew, Cam Newton, Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, Derek Carr, Joe Burrow, Ryan Tannehill, and Kirk Cousins all go in that next round. Just a couple players mixed in there, obviously. James Conner, Noah Fant went to Matt. Tony took his second quarterback, which was Ben Roethlisberger.
I got my stack. You stole my receiver, but I did my second best receiver stack.
What was your receiver? Because mine was Jarvis Landry. Like, that pissed me off. I was pissed.
Sutton.
Yeah. I was shitty. When he picks Landry, I was fucking shitty. I'm just waiting for you.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of surprised he fell to me. I was hoping I was going Landry there once I knew he was gonna fall. I was hoping Chark would fall to me as well. He didn't, so I went McLaurin. I'm fine with that. CeeDee Lamb here I thought was a little bit of a reach to Ricky. I do think he's going to have a good season, but there's quite a few guys that went behind him that are more proven. I would have gone over CeeDee Lamb. I know he's big on Lamb, but I felt that was kind of a little bit of a reach, in my opinion. You guys have anything else in that round you want to comment on, or should you keep on moving?
No, I don't think going CeeDee Lamb. What's that? Two rounds in front of Michael Gallup. I don't think I buy that. I definitely think going, though. Next year in Dynasty maybe, but this is redraft. I think next year maybe Lamb and Gallup might swap positions in the draft order, but right now taking Lamb, I don't think the expectations of their production is Lamb is going to outperform Gallup by 2 rounds worth of production.
No, I agree with you. Even in redrafts, he's going way ahead of Gallup. Gallup has taken a hit big time, Dynasty and redraft, since Lamb went there, and that's where I'm with you. I would much rather take Michael Gallup because I think he's going to outproduce Lamb, and you're getting him 2 rounds later.
Quick question. If AJ Green is healthy, is 6-13 too late?
No. Yes. Too late. Yes. I think I would have taken him above CeeDee Lamb. I would have probably taken him over Terry McLaurin.
Would you take him? Let me ask you. Let's assume AJ Green is healthy. Would you take him above Stephon Diggs?
Yes.
Would you take him above DJ Moore?
Yes.
Would you take him above Robert Woods? Assuming he's healthy.
Yeah, probably.
Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, probably.
Adam Thielen.
I think that's kind of where I'd put it. I'd question it. If you're going backwards, I see where you're going. I wouldn't take him over A-Rob. So Adam Thielen would kind of be the coin flip one for me. What about you, Matt, Dennis? And you, Tony? What about you guys?
I would, assuming he's healthy, I would take him. I like Allen Robinson, so I'd take him right after Allen Robinson.
Okay.
Yeah, I would probably – I think Green going – where he did is probably I'd take him over Diggs because I think he's going to get substantially more volume. I'd probably I can make the case for taking him over Lockett because I think he could. While Lockett is probably going to have decent volume, I think that the big dude Metcalf is going to really score a bunch of touchdowns there. I like Green if he's healthy, but I don't know if I believe he's going to be healthy all season. I think him and Boyd, if he is healthy, they make a great 1-2 punch, much like Julio and Calvin or OBJ and Landry. That's really a great combination to have. So.
For me, I didn't assume he wouldn't be healthy when I was doing it. I'm more comfortable with him possibly being a wide receiver 2, but setting at wide receiver 3.
All right, so Evan Ingram was that next guy off the board there. Makes sense. I think if he stays healthy, kind of like what you were just talking about, AJ Green, he could be good. Tyler Boyd, Johnson, Ingram, Marquise, Hollywood Brown, T.Y. Hilton, Julian Edelman. Tony, you went Kareem Hunt here. Again, was that just you kind of building out that running back room like you talked about earlier?
Yeah, I don't have this is my first piece of Kareem Hunt. Like, it's the first time I've got him on my team, and I love it. I'm excited. The last 5 weeks of the year, last 6 weeks of the year, he was like top 12 with Nick Chubb. So I'm excited about it. My thought about Kareem Hunt was he's my fourth running back, and I can stop looking at running backs after Kareem Hunt. Like, I don't have to worry about it anymore. I'm done. I'm good to go. And I think he's got RB1 upside. God forbid anything happens to Nick Chubb. I would never wish that in a million years. But if that happened, Kareem Hunt would be, what, RB3? Would that shock you?
No, I agree with you. I was actually talking to someone about that today in our keeper league. He decided to keep Kareem Hunt, who he drafted in the 11th round last year, purposely because he knew he was probably going to keep him. And that's what I told him. I was like, dude, it's a great keeper for you because if something were to happen to Nick Chubb, you instantly have at worst probably a top 5 back that you're getting to keep in the 11th round. And he's still going to have value even if nothing happens, which we
forever.
All hope happens. So then, Matt, you went Raheem Mostert here. That was your first back. Was that just kind of, in all honesty,
that was my
on the board? That's going to be the bell count.
That was my second running back. I have Aaron Jones.
Oh yeah, that's right. Was that just more of the last bell cow kind of thing? Because a lot of these guys going after are not bell cows, or not going to likely lead their team.
Mostert has been a guy I've enjoyed snagging late. Obviously did well in the consistency guide. I think getting the contracts worked out. He has a great opportunity. The reason that they were moving on from Matt Breida, I think, is because they like what they have in Mostert. I thought that was a good option to grab as my RB2.
So then Parker. See this again back when as I was talking about with Shabuti's team, why I would have gone running back earlier, because then he ends up having to go J.K. Dobbins and Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones may end up being the guy there, but I don't see J.K. having a huge year unless something happens to Mark Ingram. So counting on him to be your running back one, I think, is a little bit of a stretch.
Yes.
Swift, go ahead.
No, yes, I was agreeing with you. Yes.
Okay. So Sam Darnold goes, and I went. Am I looking at this wrong? No. That's why I went Teddy Bridgewater here. I just, after that huge quarterback run win, I knew I needed to get another quarterback because I did not like a lot of the guys that were left on the board. Knew I needed to get a guy that I could plug in almost every single week. I should have just taken Curtis Samuel here because, again, I mentioned I wanted to get a double up. But I really think Brandon Cooks is going to have a good year this year. For him to still be sitting on the board, I was kind of like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to go Brandon Cooks. As much as I wanted Curtis Samuel, I thought he might fall to me in the next round with the way wide receivers were falling. And Brandon Cooks, I think, is going to have a phenomenal year. After that, Gallup, Akers, Ronald Jones, Hunter Henry, Marvin Jones. This is where Tony went Hooper we talked about earlier. Higbee, Kirk, Jordan Howard, which is a solid pick. I really like Jordan Howard. He's the last bell cow I think that was left on the board. Still think he's going to get a lot of run. Dwayne Haskins, Will Fuller, Curtis Samuel, Deebo Samuel. Coming back around, Marlon Mack, Hayden Hurst, yes, Jared Cook, Deontay Johnson, Denzel Mims. Thoughts on that? Because I'm kind of, as I've mentioned, out on a lot of the rookies this year just because I don't think a lot of them are going to do that good. I think Brandon Ayuk may be good. I would have gone him there. Would have gone Darius Slayton, which, by the way, fuck you, Tony, because that was the other guy I was trying to get to double up with my Daniel Jones thing, which didn't work out.
Sorry, bro.
Preston Williams, who not Dennis, but you were channeling your inner Dennis there, Matt, and taking Preston Williams. Like, easily would have gone all three of those guys over Denzel Mims. So you guys' thoughts on Mims going there?
I don't know that there's going to be much difference between Mims and Ayuk this year. They're both going to be in low-volume offenses and have some potential, but I wouldn't have taken either of them over Slayton or Williams or Mike Williams, for that matter. So it's, it's a could be as my, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So Mims is his wide receiver 5. I guess there you're looking for upside. Once you get to that point, it's, but looking at his team, he's got he drafted 3, 4, 5, 6. He drafted 6 rookies in like his last 8 picks or 9 picks. They're worth a roll of the dice, I guess, but given this offseason, I don't know how much I would have spent on rookies.
Yeah. Hey, Tony, I know you got to go. You want to say anything before you head out?
Yeah, I want to say something. I got y'all with Cole Beasley. What about Cole Beasley in the 20? What was that? What's our last pick? What was the last one? 18. Right? So 17 in the 17th round. I took Cole Beasley. That's a wide receiver 3, guys. I mean, come on. When we think about everything going on in Buffalo, I understand. Listen, Stephon Diggs moves to Buffalo. John Brown's there. Like, we got a lot of things to talk about, but Cole Beasley's role is the least affected by the whole thing. And he fell all the way to the 17th round. I am mind blown by this. His back was hurt, so that's part of it. He had an injury and he was on IR or whatever the preseason injury list is. That's what it was. But guys, Cole Beasley is a player. I'm just telling you, when you go into your redraft leagues, Cole Beasley is a player that people are sleeping on, and especially in PPR. I expect him to gobble up these targets. Stephon Diggs is not a threat to Cole Beasley. I mean, he's just not. As a matter of fact, Stephon Diggs enhances Cole Beasley. And to know that he's being just completely disrespected, that he's falling all the way down. If you're in a PPR league, I would beg you to draft Cole Beasley with your last pick. If it's standard scoring, I'm not saying the same thing. Standard scoring league, maybe don't consider him because I can't count on him to score the touchdowns, but I know he's going to get the receptions. So for me, Cole Beasley is a wide receiver 2 that I drafted in the fucking 17th round. Like, I have wide receivers to spend because I have Cole Beasley on my bench. So that's what I'm trying to say. If you're in a redraft standard scoring league, let him fly. I'm not saying get crazy here. I don't anticipate major touchdowns, but he's going to gobble up targets. So please don't disrespect Cole Beasley. That's what I'm trying to say. Anything else? Any guys?
Should we touch on your 11th and 12th round picks? Because those were...
Okay, let's go ahead. I'm ready. 11th, I'm ready.
Or 11th and 12th. Nick Foles and Mr. Trubisky. I don't mind it. You're securing the Chicago backfield, Chicago quarterback position.
Listen, I hate Superflex. I'll tell you right now, I don't like Superflex. Superflex pisses me off. I don't enjoy it. I'm angry every time I play a Superflex league. That's just what it is. I would prefer to draft a quarterback in the 15th round. Like, that's just who I am. So I took Stafford and Roethlisberger. And to be honest with you, I don't love either of them. So I had to get another quarterback.
The way I look at it too is you're tangential to your man crush, Allen Robinson, because while you don't have Robinson, you can still get credit for his touchdowns if you have one of those guys in there.
That's exactly right. That's why I did it. It's because of Allen Robinson. You are so right. Yes, that's exactly why. Because no matter who's throwing him the touchdowns, I get the points.
Okay. There you go.
All right, I gotta get out of here, guys. Thank you for having me. I really love being here. Thank you, guys. See you later.
See ya.
All right, so rolling through here, like I said, I was hoping, as I mentioned, Darius Slayton would fall to me. Tony did take him.
Going back to your Mims thing, I just realized Crowder went almost a full round after Mims.
Yeah.
Which is even more unexplainable because even if you thought Mims was going to kind of be the breakout as opposed to Perriman, it's hard to argue with the idea that Crowder is going to be the best receiver there and the best PPR value.
Yeah, well, and that's what I said. Like, I don't have an issue with taking rookies. I just feel like, Darius Slayton, Preston Williams, then you got Mike Williams, Jamison Crowder, I think probably I draw the line at Anthony Miller, but I would have taken all those guys over Denzel Mims at that point. For me, I would have faded that. I would have gone those other guys. But so coming back around, we saw. Let's see here. What was that James White, Jonnu Smith? Were for me took White just because I'm hoping for a little bit of PPR upside. I was just trying to grab some running backs at that point because a lot of them had already gone. Jonnu Smith, I've talked about before. I'm really big on Jonnu Smith this year. That was my first tight end I grabbed. I think he's going to have a huge year. So I think for me, I got a steal there at that point, getting him as late as I did for a guy I think is going to be a top 12 tight end. Eric Ebron, Antonio Gibson. Was that Devonta Freeman? Perplexed on the Devonta Freeman pick right there. Thoughts?
Apparently, he's asking for too much money because everybody but him is signing. I think it's a gamble. Even if he does sign, he didn't look great last year. And I suppose you can say, oh, it was injuries or whatnot. But I think sometimes, you just come to the end of the road. And I think we're there with Freeman.
There's still rumors he's going to go to Washington. I think that's why he's kind of creeped up in ADP again. But Jacob not only took Freeman there, but two rounds later in the 12th, I believe, went for Antonio Brown. So he's kind of, hoping maybe one of those guys catches on and lands. It's a gamble, but it's deep of a league. You take those chances.
So, well, the one thing I'll say is I can understand the Devonta Freeman one because if he signs, you're likely looking at if he signs anywhere between now and the next couple of weeks, you're likely going to have him by week 1 or week 2. Antonio Brown suspended for 8 games. Like, you're not getting him back anytime soon. So, for me, that's a huge reach in the 12th round. If he was still there like the 15th or 16th, okay, I'll take him. But you're not getting him back till maybe week 10. Because if he's suspended for 8 weeks, you're likely looking at least probably a week to get back into football shape. Because I believe once you're suspended, you can't be in the facility. So he's not going to be able to be there. He comes back. Maybe it takes him a week. So you're getting him week 10.
Unless he signs in the next week or so, he will literally have had no time with whatever team he's with before he comes back. I think that would be the most alarming for me. It's not like, people forget Brown played 1 game and was with 2 different teams last year, but he had a huge long layoff there, going to new systems. Playing catch with Russell Wilson in his backyard is not the same as preparing for the NFL season. We don't know NFL-wise where he is in preparation.
All right, so keeping through the 10th here, a bunch of Peterson, Cohen, Judy, Madison, Miller, Jordan Love, Irv Smith Jr., going back into the 11th, John Brown, T. Higgins, Henry Ruggs, Zach Moss, Lynn Bowden Jr. I thought was an interesting pick there. I wouldn't have taken him. Maybe they're just looking for a little bit of PPR upside. Rager, Doyle, Foles, Sterling Shepard. I thought that was great. Another pick by you there, Matt.
Yeah, again, so that was me again, channeling my "What would Dennis do?" I had watched Shepard kind of drop and drop and drop. I think some of these guys, people are getting scared off by their injury history. I know Shepard has struggled to stay on the field, but I think we all thought he could be a really solid receiver for them. That was part of the reason that they were okay with letting OBJ get traded, was they liked Shepard, they liked their potential. So I thought I ended up accidentally waiting on receiver quite a bit. So for him to be my wide receiver 4, I felt pretty good about.
Yeah, and like I said, I was hoping he would fall to me that round. He was the other guy I was trying to target to do my double up because I didn't get anybody to double up on my team. So Sony Michel, Shabuti takes Damian Harris. He goes on like a huge run of running backs here, which I understand. Like I said, I mentioned earlier, because of the route he took with his quarterbacks, and he was stacking so many quarterbacks, he kind of hurt himself at the running back position. So I'm just going to kind of go through his list real quick. Antonio Gibson, Damian Harris, Tony Pollard, Chase Edmonds, Keyshawn Vaughn, Reichel Armstead, and Jamal Williams. Just trying to, in my opinion, you're probably going all those guys to just hope one of those guys hits.
You surprised Vaughn went so late? Because, earlier in the offseason, he was going much earlier. It seems like people are afraid of LaShawn McCoy?
I think because of the Ronald Jones news is why he went so late. I would have gone him I should have gone him in the 14th round, but because of the way he kept falling, I thought maybe he'd fall one more round, so I just kept letting him go. I would have taken him where I took Bryce Love, but he ended up going, obviously. So I went Tevin Coleman there in the 11th round. Same thing. I was just kind of looking for a running back who has a chance to do something at this point, and I think obviously if Mostert gets hurt, especially with Breida being gone, Coleman will get a lot of run. When Emmanuel Sanders, here's where we talked about a little bit about him. Being there in New Orleans, the best kind of two there with Michael Thomas, and probably the best two Drew Brees has had in a while as well. So I like his upside being, I don't even know what wide receiver.
Hey, Matt, in your quest to stack with Daniel Jones, how come you didn't go for Golden Tate? I mean, when he came back, he played really, really well when he came back from suspension.
I think, in all honesty, at that point, once Sterling Shepard went, I just kind of said, fuck it. I didn't care anymore. Like, there were certain guys that I was targeting, and it was just, I don't know. I did not like this draft at all. Like, I think at the end, I like my team for the most part, but throughout the draft, I kept getting so frustrated that I just kind of gave up on I think once we got to the James White pick, I pretty much just given up because Darius Slayton was the guy that I was really hoping for. He's a guy I've seen fall into like the 11th and 12th round, and so I was like, dude, I'm reaching and I'm taking him here in the 9th. And then he went to Tony. I was like, I'm done. I don't care anymore. Like I just kind of gave up. It's probably not the right attitude to have, but that was kind of the way I handled it.
Well, when you add those 13th and 14th rounds in there, that's basically the 11th round, 12th round.
Right. Yeah.
So
I mean,
you have to compensate for that.
Yeah, you don't have to compensate for nothing. We were drafting with amateurs, and they beat me. I'll just put it that way. So keep going here into the 12th. I mean, there's not much going. I think not a lot of. Has you guys seen anything interesting that jumps off to you on these bottom rounds? Like a lot of it's, in my opinion, a lot of dart throws. I mean, I did like getting Chris Herndon in the 13th. I mean, I think all of us are kind of high on him. I thought Njoku going in the 13th as well was kind of a steal. Both those guys, I think, could easily be really good tight ends, especially with the tight end premium numbers. So to be able to get Herndon there, I liked being able to get Bryce Love in the 15th as well. He's a guy that I think could. I was hoping to get Armstead as well in that turnaround. He went. Those were two guys that I'm really kind of high on for late end running backs that I would stash that I think could jump up. Outside of those guys, though, nothing's really standing out to me. Your guys' thoughts on any of these last picks before we get out of here?
I like Earl of Dynasty grabbing Joshua Kelly in the 14th. DeAndre Washington could be sneaky for him as well. Chris Conley in the 17th round. That's a great pick. And I think Steve Sims in Washington, he could end up being that number 2 that they're looking for, working out of the slot. And Darrell Henderson, I know we all want to say, oh, it's Cam Akers, it's Cam Akers, it's Cam Akers. But I would not be surprised one bit if
did you see Henderson was running with the ones on Hard Knocks?
Yeah, but I don't put a whole lot of weight into that. There, he's the veteran. They're gonna give the veteran deferential treatment at the beginning, especially at the beginning of camp. I like the way that Kanan's team turned out. He started off strong with the Kansas City stack. Tyreek Hill, Lockett, Deebo Samuel when he gets healthy. His wide receivers do drop off a bit. And Duke Johnson in the 13th could be a real sneaky one. Michelle grabbing 2 fullbacks in the 16th and 17th. Or 15th and 16th, that might present some issues. And having Jordan Love as her second quarterback, that might be an opportunity. She's going to need to start working the trades.
What the hell? Hang on. I hate to interrupt you really quick. Are you guys looking at the draft board? Right?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Look at my pick at 13-4. And then tell me if I'm seeing this correctly.
No, I just noticed that too. Cap and Trent selected Chris Herndon, and it's funny.
Oh crap!
I just noticed that. Yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, if you click on it, it pops up as duplicate player. I wonder if somebody added. Did you have to add him, and then he got added by the system?
I don't think so. That's interesting.
Okay,
Well,
we'll have to.
Yeah, the commissioner's going to have to fix that.
Fortunately, there's 3 of us.
Yeah.
I will
Wait,
say
no,
that
two of you. I do not take part in commissioning this league at all. It's you. It's all you and Tony. I do want to give credit really quick. He did. There you go, Dennis. A lot of those players you were talking about were that was Matt channeling his inner Dennis with the what's it? Darrell Henderson, Steven Sims, and Chris Conley. Those were all on Matt's team.
Yep. Well, and he grabbed his boy Philip Lindsay, so he does have the true stack with Locke, Fant, and Lindsay.
I will admit. So I do like Dawson Knox, and your effusive praise of Dawson Knox convinced me to go that way. But also at that point in time was when I realized that I had taken 2 great tight ends that both have the same bye week.
Yeah.
And I was like,
don't you hate that?
Kidding me?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I didn't get at bye week at all in there. So I will say I did like Ricky's pick of Quintez Cephas. He's a guy that I know we've talked a little bit about could have a really interesting role there in Detroit. So to get him in the 17th round, I think was a good pick as well.
About Quintez Cephas, I think today.
Yeah, you had an article come out.
I saw that it dropped out. Yeah, dropped today. Yeah, so I like that pick in the 17th round. So outside of that, very interesting draft. Real quick before we get out of here, I'm just gonna kind of put you guys on the spot. So if you don't have one, I can go first. Do you have a specific redraft strategy that you like to kind of take going in? Now, everybody obviously pivots based on the way the drafts go, but is there a certain way you like to go in to a redraft draft room?
Are you talking any specific format?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, I'll just so for mine, like I talked about either regardless with the Superflex one we just did, or I was talking to you guys earlier in our group chat about my home dynasty where I was trying to figure out where I wanted to pick, and I ended up going with pick 2. Like, I'm still trying to go heavy RB early. I'm trying to go, as we talked about, I know CMC and Barkley are gone, so I'm probably going to go Zeke there. And then when it comes back around to me, I'm probably still going to go running back unless someone amazing at wide receiver falls, just because I want to be in the running back business this year. I feel like wide receiver is so deep. You're seeing guys like Adam Thielen going in the 4th or 5th round that could still be a wide receiver 1. Give me those running backs early because I think that drop off is a lot steeper from running back to wide receiver.
Yeah, I think you can have a plan. I typically will go in. So in redraft right now, I'm looking at where am I drafting? If I'm at the beginning of the draft, then I'm looking at, McCaffrey, Barkley, Elliott, Kamara, Cook. And if I'm in the back half, I'm looking at Chubb, Mixon, Drake in that area. I'm trying to grab at least 2. And then if I'm picking early and I'm at the end of the 2nd round, then I'm hoping for somebody like Drake or Sanders or Eckler to fall to me. I've seen Sanders go 107, 108 in some drafts now. He's starting to get pretty hot. But if I can stack up 3 running backs in the first 3 rounds, even in Superflex, unless I decide to go, well, I'm going to go QB early because I haven't done that strategy in a while. Then I might go quarterback, but for the most part, even in Superflex, I'm not looking quarterback until 4th or 5th round for my first quarterback.
Yeah, Superflex, I like to get a quarterback, somewhat earlier by the 2nd or 3rd round. I was just worried about runs. Sometimes it's the size of the league, so with it being 14, I definitely was leaning that way. But mostly, I've been trying to do kind of best player available. You guys have drafted with me before. I tend to
best Bronco available.
Not go for running backs as early as most people. I had to fight my every impulse in my body to draft Aaron Jones in the 3rd round. I was like, what an incredible value. Now I'm going to take Golladay anyway. And I'm like, no, I'm going to screw myself if I don't do this.
Like, I'm usually
in
like that
Scott
too.
Fishbowl, I was almost 0 RB. That's why I ended up having to be the highest drafter of Ronald Jones. Scott
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm the same way. Like, I just think for me this year, I'm kind of going heavy RB because, like I said, that drop off for me, I think it's pretty steep where you can get such good wide receiver. It's going to be hard for me too. Like if, say, in this draft, it comes back around and I've got a Odell, Juju, Kenny Galladay, and then Jonathan Taylor sitting there, it's going to be really hard for me to pass on those 3 wide receivers and take Jonathan Taylor. But it's one of those things where like I really want to get a high-end running back 1 and 2 if possible, and then kind of worry about hitting wide receivers. I still think you can get a lot of those really good guys throughout there and then just kind of build in some dart throw running backs. But that's just me. Dennis, you have anything you want to add before we get out of here?
No. I think it's been you guys did pretty well in the draft. It's going to be pretty interesting. And, what is it? We have 3 weeks or 4 weeks till the start of the season. And then 16 weeks. So 20 weeks from now when Mama Michelle is accepting her championship trophy.
I know.
It's just like
I'm already projected to get my ass kicked. So, I mean, there's that.
That's all right. I have already, as I told Ricky, we're going to do our pigskin pick'em pool. I fully expect Kenzie, who's never followed football, is going to beat all of us because that's what happens every year when I pick against my wife.
I don't know. I might just go against the Browns every week this year to kind of build my wins up since that's what's
This is going to be the year they go 12-4.
Right.
That's fine. That's fine. Let's reverse the jinx, baby. All right, so we
Dennis,
will be
I
back.
know you're being diplomatic, Dennis, but it's okay to say that one of us did better than the other in the draft.
One of you did better than the other.
We will be back on Monday. We will have a all conference preview next week. We will be doing the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens on Monday, and then the Browns and Bengals on Thursday to kind of knock out our previews before we finish up doing everything as we get, again, closer to the season. Not sure yet when we're going to start going to 3 to 4 days a week. It'll probably be the week of the season. I know someone asked me about that the other day. We'll probably still do 2 episodes a week for the next couple weeks, and then maybe the week before the week of the season, we'll jump back into more of them. But we will see you guys again on Monday. Everybody have yourselves a good weekend.